So now this is pretty much up and running. It's working well. The next thing we need to do is deploy this to Firebase so that they can host it. And we can do this for free, and it's really simple to do. So let's head over to Firebase, to our project, and I've clicked on hosting. Now if we click on get started, it's going to tell us to install something first of all to do this, and that is the Firebase tools. So we have to install this to use the command line to easily upload our project to Firebase for them to host. So let's grab this. And by the way, -G is the same as --global. We're installing this globally on our computer. So we'll go and do that first of all. In fact, we'll press continue to see what the next step is. We say Firebase login, Firebase init, then Firebase deploy. Okay, so let's go and install it first of all. I'm going to open up a new terminal to do this, and I'm going to cd into, first of all, ninja-smoothies. You don't have to do this to install Firebase tools, but you do have to do it to deploy your application. So I'm just preparing myself. Then we'll paste in npm install -G to install this globally Firebase tools. Alright then, so now they're installed, we can use it to upload our project to Firebase so that it can host it. So then, how do we deploy our application? Well, again, it says, first of all, we need to log in. So we'll say Firebase login. So this is hopefully going to pop up a little screen for us to log in with. Okay, so I'm already logged in as Sean at thenetninja.co.uk. If you're not logged in, then it will throw up a little screen where you just need to log in with your account. Okay, so once that's done, the next step over here is to say Firebase init. Now this initializes a new Firebase project on the front end, okay? It prepares it for deployment. So let's go over here and we'll say Firebase init, and at this point you do need to be in this directory, Ninja Smoothies. This is where we're initializing this Firebase project ready for deployment. So when we do that, it's going to ask us a few different questions, and we get this cool Firebase thing right here. That is pretty good. Okay, so you're about to initialize a Firebase project in this directory. Are you ready to proceed? You betcha. Okay, so what are we going to use for this project? Well, we're not using the standard database, we're using the Firestore. So just go down to that by pressing the arrow key, then press space to select this one. Now, we're not using functions, but we are going to use hosting, so press space on that, and we're not using storage. So then press enter, project setup. So now it's going to ask us for a project on our Firebase console that we want to upload this to. Now, we've already created that, and it was called Udemy Ninja Smoothies. So we're linking our project here on the front end up with this project on the back end. All right, Udemy Ninja Smoothies. So this is what we want to deploy to. So we'll press enter on that. And next, what file should be used for Firestore rules? Let's just press enter and accept the default ones there. We'll talk about Firestore rules near the end of this whole series. What file should be used for Firestore indexes? Again, we can press enter there. That's fine. What do you want to use as your public directory? Now the default here is public. We want it to be dist because when we build our Vue application, Vue builds it into a folder called dist. So that's the folder that we're going to deploy up to Firebase. So we want to change this to dist instead of public. We'll change that. Configure as a single page app. Rewrite all URLs to index.html. Yes, we want this. So you know when we were using history mode for our routes in a previous chapter? Well, this right here, if we press yes, configures the server to only serve up the index.html page, which is where our Vue application starts, and then Vue will take over all of the routing. So this does all of that configuration for us on the server, and we don't need to worry about it. So we could change our routing mode to history, and Firebase would take care of the server side so that it works. So we don't get those little hashes in the routes. Now we've not done that in this project, but we will do it in another project going forward. So press yes, and now Firebase initialization is complete. Cool. So now we've prepared this project for deployment, and we can see all of these different files now, these Firebase files with this little fire icon, which is pretty cool. Okay, so now we've prepared it for deployment, we just need to deploy it to Firebase. How do we do that? Well, again, if we take a look at get started and press continue, it says the final step is to say Firebase deploy, and that's going to push it up to Firebase, to this project, Udemy Ninja Smoothies. So let us say that down here, Firebase deploy, and press enter. Alright, cool. So now it's uploaded and deployed that project to Firebase. And it's saying right here, this is the project console, which would take us to our console over here. And this right here is the hosting URL. So we could click that if we want, and it's going to open up in a browser. If we go over here to the hosting panel as well, it's also going to show us now that this is the URL for our application. Okay? So it tells us the deploy time down here as well. And if we were to make further deployments, it would list them down here. So if we press this, now at the minute we're getting this welcome screen right here. Now that's not our application. So what's going on? We've tried to deploy this application. Well, we've deployed it, but we've not actually built it with Vue.js. So we don't have that dist folder yet. Well, we do, but it just has a basic index.html file in it at the minute created by Firebase when we said that we wanted to push up our dist folder. So what we need to do before we do a deployment every time we make changes is actually build this project with Vue. And to do that, we say npm run build. And this is going to tell Vue.js to say, hey, take all of our component files now and build that and publish it to this dist folder. So now in a second, we should see this update. Okay, so now Vue has built our project. We can see the files have updated right here. We have this static folder with all of our bundled JavaScript and CSS and the index.html, which is now our Vue application. Cool, so now we've built that, we can actually deploy the correct thing rather than just the dummy index file that Firebase created for us when we initialized this project on the front end. So again, all we need to do is say Firebase deploy to deploy this new version of the application. It's going to take that dist folder and deploy it to Firebase. Cool, so now that's done, we can head back over to our console, and if we view over here, we can see now we have a new deployed version. Okay, so it lists the first one and then the current one. So again, if we go now to this URL, then we should see, if we hard refresh, the new application. Cool, so it's deployed that now to udemy-ninjas-smoothies.firebaseapp.com. So if we try to do this now, hopefully it's all going to work. I'm going to go over here and add a new smoothie called Ninja Brew and add an ingredient, coffee and bananas, and we'll say ice cream and milk. All right. Okay, so let's add that smoothie. And now we see over here, something happened to my typing right here, but you get the idea. This all seems to work on our website now. So if we delete an item over here, update the smoothie, that should reflect on the front end, etc. And if we now go to our database over here, then we should see all of that updated data as well as we're interacting with it over here online. So let's check it out. So we have bananas and pineapple for Mario Mood, that's updated, and also this new one called Ninja Brew. Awesome. So there we go, there's our very first application with Vue.js and Firebase.